Welcome to the Fraidy Cat Podcast. I'm Kelly McFarland.
I'm Carolyn Plummer.
And we're back again this week talking about all things that make you feel like a Fraidy cat. We're so lucky and happy, and I want to make sure we introduce him right away so he can start talking as soon as he feels inspired. We have our very good friend, because I start with that. He's very funny. He also has a resume that's super long, and he would hate for me to list it because that would be weird. Tony V is with us tonight.
Oh, I like him.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Hello.
We're lucky to have Tony.
You know, this is so weird. I am afraid of podcasts.
Oh, shit. We got to get you out of here then.
So if I seem a little on edge this evening, you've hit me right where I live.
We're sitting at a table that we're all on the same side of the table, too, like we're some weird American Idol judges situation.
yes.
Yeah.
And we have you in the middle, and now I'm regretting it immediately.
No, it's going to be fine.
Are you sure? Because you keep looking. You
I
feel like you have to make eye
I
contact
do.
with both of us.
Maybe I should just go on the other side of the table and stare at you uncomfortably.
That wouldn't be uncomfortable for me at
no.
all.
Nice to be here.
Nice to have you.
Yeah, you're two of my favorite people in the world on either side.
Oh my
of me.
gosh,
Yeah.
same,
Yeah,
same.
It's great.
We're in Boston. We're in Faneuil Hall at our podcast studio room thing that we record at, and you live right in Charlestown.
I do. I live. You could probably go outside and see my house.
Yeah.
Or at least the top of my street. The Bunker Hill Monument's right at the top of my
Top
street.
of your street.
Yeah.
And you've lived here for the
Forever.
always, right?
Yeah, forever. I grew up in around Boston. I grew up in Somerville, and have either been there, New York, L.A., or Charlestown.
Yeah.
for various parts
It's
of
a
my
wide
life.
net.
Yes.
It's a very wide
but
net.
it always comes back to here. I'm very Boston.
And we asked you, might as well ask right away, right,
Yeah.
Claire? We asked you before we started recording, are there ghosts in your home in Charlestown? Because you have a two-family and
Three family. Yeah,
Three
I have
family in
Yeah.
Charlestown.
Old brownstone
Yeah.
from the 1800s. The main building was built in.
And no ghosts.
To my knowledge, no.
Don't you think they would have met you for waffles or something already?
Things are scared of me. You know, even ghosts, even otherworldly things. I don't
want to mess with
he's
that
walking
guy.
around in his underwear. He's going to pee. He looks grumpy.
That was literally my visual, and I'm sorry to do that to
Yeah,
our
of course.
friendship, but you were like, things are scared of me. And I immediately, my brain was like, you and these boxers
Yeah.
with a cigar walking around. Maybe I'll have some orange juice. Yeah, like,
Excuse me,
Yeah.
ghost. I'm trying to.
boo! Ah!
I'm trying to get to the leftovers.
Right.
Go scare some of the neighbors.
Yeah, never anything with your dog. You've got kids. Your wife.
No, my son early on. I don't remember the exact thing, but it wasn't in our house.
Okay.
He was in our house looking across the street. Our street is very narrow.
Maybe he's
It
the
is.
problem.
Yeah,
He's staring out the window.
Maybe I don't have children. maybe they're phantoms.
Your wife and children were sent on a ship. They're
Children, your children haven't been alive in 300 years.
That's like that movie, The Others.
But one day, I remember him saying to my wife, and I sort of overheard it. It was, "Oh, that man across the street is hurting that lady." And she went, "What?" And so we ran to the window, and we go, "Gus, we don't see anything." He goes, "No, he's right there. He was hurting that lady."
Oh.
So two things come to mind. It could have really been happening, and then they left.
Yeah, there was
Right.
the code of silence.
Yeah, there's.
In Charleston.
In Charlestown.
Right in Charlestown.
You don't
I
say
didn't see nothing.
We didn't see nothing.
I didn't see anything. I don't know what you're talking about.
We've had incidences there, not to digress right away.
No, please.
But someone has been killed inside a building and then dragged out front, already deceased. And then the cops come and they go, "What happened?" "I don't know."
Nothing.
Guy's
Stepping
dead.
over
Yeah,
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's old school Charlestown, but
Yeah. Code of silence, right?
yeah, sure.
We're going to talk this week about things that have happened in Boston, which is there's plenty of them.
Yes.
What's the biggest thing that comes to mind that whatever age you were that happened, whether it was like a murder or an accident or a news story in the Boston area that made you go, holy crap?
Well, I don't go back as far as the Great Molasses Flood.
Thank you so much. But that would have
But
made you.
that would have been something that turned my head.
That is pretty an amazing story. 'Cause
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
A giant tank of molasses blew up.
What year was that?
It's like 1911 or 19011
and
or
molasses
something like
spilled
that.
into the streets,
1911.
right?
1911, I don't know. Somewhere around
Yeah.
there. Yeah. It was
Downtown, right?
It was in the North End, or right on what is Commercial Street now.
Yeah.
I think near the bocce courts and the Storetti rink are there now. But,
It's the
you know,
most
it
Boston thing anyone's ever said.
I know every
Said,
place.
you know, it's in the North End near the bocce courts.
Right.
And the,
Like,
The
is
Storetti
that,
rink.
is that near the cannolis? Because that's what I know. In the
Well,
Yeah.
it's about 3 streets removed from the cannoli. Also there
yes.
is the country's narrowest house.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
and it was a house of spite. There were 2 brothers. One brother got left land, and the other didn't get left anything except for this narrow thing. I think it's like 12 feet wide.
I mean-
and so he put up a 12-foot wide house so his brother wouldn't have, access to the waterfront.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, you
Do
can
people
see it.
live in it now?
Yeah,
They do?
it's a viable house.
It's
yeah.
probably like worth 1.5 million or something.
Yeah, I'm sure it's
Yeah.
worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
now.
They're known as the
But
go
yeah,
fuck
so-
yourself house.
Yes, it was definitely that. But
Do you
but
think they talk about that on the Freedom Trail?
I don't know if they point that. Maybe they
In the
do.
outfit?
Well, they have a
the old go fuck yourself house.
Ye old fuck
Ye
yourself.
old fuckery house.
and that's spelled with an E at the end.
That's correct.
But it was in that area where the molasses blew up, and it was a big thing because it was a sweetener. They used to make rum here,
Yeah.
and that was the basis of it, and on and on and on. So they had hundreds of thousands of gallons of molasses just hanging around. The tank ruptured in the heat, but I have maintained if you could be overtaken by a wave of molasses,
Right.
Yeah, how fast does
yeah,
molasses
right.
go?
Well, there's a saying. Slow as
as
molasses.
molasses.
It's an actual thing.
Yeah, it's true.
Right.
I can outrun
It's
it.
coming.
I mean, maybe if it blows up, it has some force. But
Didn't it burn things, though? Because it was like
it was hot. Yeah.
lava.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it was like lava.
I mean, and also how thick was it?
Molasses is
Molasses
pretty
is
thick.
No, but I mean, sorry, how deep?
Oh,
Not
I
thick.
don't know. I guess we could have looked
We
that
could
up.
have
but-
researched that.
I'm gonna look right
you
now.
go right ahead, but I know it was a big deal, and they still say that on a hot day you can smell molasses.
You get
down
out of
there.
here. Is
Yeah.
that true?
And maybe it's ghost molasses. I don't know.
Spooky
Ghost
ghost.
It might be.
molasses.
Did
I just
anybody
wanna
die?
tell you guys
People
that-
must have died.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think 11 or 12 people died.
like
and
the-
horses. They had to shoot horses because they couldn't get them out and stuff. And,
And they didn't have
then there
any
was the great-
recipes yet for
right,
that.
No,
Yeah.
and the glue factories are there. It is
Yeah,
right there.
this is the
Yeah.
Great Molasses
What-
Flood.
what
It
was the year?
happened.
Oh,
in-
1919.
1919.
Oh, that's later than I gave it credit for.
It happened in January too, so I wonder how much snow did we have? 21 deaths, Carolyn Ann.
21.
Yeah.
Good.
I bet the snow cooled down the molasses.
It was 2.3 million U.S. gallons
That's a lot
of
of-
molasses,
that's a lot of
weighing
molasses.
approximately 13,000 short tons.
Yeah.
I don't know what a short
I don't know
ton
what a
is.
short ton is.
I think it's
I know a shit ton.
just short
Yeah,
of a
me
ton.
too.
Shit ton is an actual
Yeah.
unit of measure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit ton of molasses, a short ton of 13,000.
Maybe they couldn't print shit ton. They put short ton.
Maybe they have. Maybe it's a typo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was a wave of molasses rushed through the streets
Sure.
at an estimated 35 miles per hour.
Oh, that's
Oh,
fast.
that's
molasses.
fast. That's-
killing 21 people and injuring 150.
All right, so that was a wave of molasses. That's like
Plus,
a tsunami of molasses.
How many people are hanging around the molasses tank? Was that like a thing to do?
I mean,
Hey, what are we doing today, Dad? We're going to go stare at the molasses tank.
Well, they just had a tragedy at the Palmer right before Easter.
Yeah.
The Palmer chocolate factory, something exploded. It sounds
this is some
similar.
Willy
Similar,
Wonka.
yeah.
shit
And
right
one
here,
lady
yeah.
was like under a vat of chocolate.
Oh.
Augustus
She burned her
The whole-
arm. She survived, but she burned her arm.
The vat itself or just the chocolate?
I don't know. She,
Because if it's in the vat, I
well,
can
she
see
was
that's
stuck
trouble.
underneath the
Un-
vat.
under
I
the
think
vat,
when she got
yeah.
burned by the chocolate.
Yeah. Oh.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Oh, does she? I wouldn't think she'd eat chocolate.
But she was there for like
Or maybe
a
it's all
long
she
time,
has.
and they got her out.
Right. I mean, that the molasses thing is the kind of thing like if you had a buddy now came up to you and said, my brother died in a molasses tragedy, you'd go, what an asshole.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, how do you let that happen? But
35 miles an
different
hour.
times. That's a lot.
Different time.
And it's 2.3 cubic million tons of.
It's a lot of
A
molasses.
lot of molasses.
And 35 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I can't run 30.
No.
No wonder they got caught.
I can run 35 miles an hour for about 3 feet, and then
Yeah.
Well,
then it evens
wicked
out.
Tony,
Yeah.
can you, or do you think you're running? Like,
Well, yeah.
we
Yeah.
played softball together,
Yeah, yeah.
and we both thought we were running pretty fast.
Yeah.
Until we found out we weren't.
We were not.
No.
Right. No. And they cruelly put us both on the bases at the same time because we were both good hitters.
Yep.
But they put us at the end of the lineup, and we would inevitably be on base together, and then.
And then someone fast would be
Someone,
behind us.
like the first guy who's a fast runner would,
Keystone Cop
right,
situation.
Yes.
would hit a bomb, and then
Yeah.
he'd be catching up, going, run, we're running.
I am running.
We're running.
This is what I look like.
As again, to reference Gus, my son, at one point he said to me, "Dad, it looks like you're running."
Oh.
And, I go, "Yeah."
That's how I felt.
Yeah.
And I had plantar fasciitis when we played, so my foot hurt anyway.
I mean,
course.
I feel like I might be running. I always have this idea that when you die, there's a new dead people mixer, and I think it would be super embarrassing to have to be like, oh, how did you die? Chernobyl. Oh, how did you die? Molasses.
Molasses.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be on the bottom rung of.
Yeah.
Right. How'd you get here?
Well, molasses exploded, and it
Yeah,
was
a
real
different-
fast.
It was 1919, though.
Wicked fast. That molasses
35 miles
was
an
wicked
hour.
fast. Yeah.
The new dead people.
I
mixer.
haven't thought it all the way through,
But
but
it's good.
I'm pretty sure. I did a gig once, and I was on the morning show promoting it, and I was in Wisconsin, and the news story before they cut to us for the teaser was man injured at such and such cheese factory. He was a cheese cutter. And I went, you got to be kidding me, to the anchor.
Right.
And then they cut to us, and I was like
Right.
smiling, like, he was cutting the cheese. I'm like, what?
You didn't say that.
No.
Rephrase that.
Please stop,
immediately.
please. Okay, so we asked you, so
Yeah,
you weren't
so-
around for the molasses.
No, I was not around for them.
Although it seems to have really had an impact on you.
Well, it's one of those things that it's like weird history from
Yeah.
from where you grew up, and not when you tell people that they go, "What?"
Yeah.
Which is what you want out of it, you
Right.
know?
Molasses?
Yeah. But then I would think after that it would be, there were series of fires that were pretty,
Oh, yeah. That
stick in my
nightclub
memory.
one.
The nightclub one, yeah, the
In-
Coconut Grove,
Yes,
Yep.
Coconut Grove.
right, which was
Yeah.
I wasn't. I mean, I wasn't.
Obviously, you weren't alive.
No, but I,
Yeah.
that my parents were, and so that was a big thing with us.
That was super tragic.
Yeah, that was super tragic. And I learned this fact as a result of that tragedy. That was the reason you now never see a revolving door without doors on the side of them.
Yep.
Yeah,
Because they
got
didn't
stuck,
have it.
right?
They got the revolving door got stuck, and that was the only way out.
And there weren't exits at the back.
No, and they were all jammed up, and that can be that.
And that was in the theater district,
Yeah,
right?
yep.
Yeah.
Coconut Grove. And then I would say, I have to think the Boston Strangler.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was young for that.
Yeah.
That was the 60s. So
Early
I was
60s.
Yeah, like a kid.
like a kid, yeah.
And that would be scary,
Yeah, it is scary because it was on everyone's mind.
right?
You know what I mean? My mother and aunts, and we all lived in a compound, so
Yeah.
we were all around everybody. But they were scared out of their wits.
Yeah. Carolyn has all sorts of information on the Boston Strangler
Really?
for this episode specifically.
Right.
I have two short ones
Do your
before
short
we get
one,
into
yeah.
Boston Strangler that happened a little more recently than the Boston Strangler. So you would have been an adult. The Chinatown massacre in 1991 that no one talks about.
Oh yeah, a bunch of people were living
They
in the
just-
same house.
It was a poker den.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
just put that guy back on the FBI's most wanted.
Yeah, one of
list,
them
like
still at
two,
large. Yeah.
Like during the pandemic because they want to catch them.
Yeah.
No.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, that is weird.
Yeah.
I do have, but they never do. They do never talk about that. They hardly
They
ever
never talk about
that.
it. WBZN, I think, is the ones they did, or no, excuse me. NBC 10 did a documentary on it that you can watch on YouTube, and I think it's on demand if you've got Xfinity. But that one to me is always weird, and I'd never heard about it. It was in '91, which isn't that long ago,
Right.
right? So it's kind of like, I mean, I guess it is a long enough time ago, but is there, I mean, we just talked about the molasses flood.
Of 19.
1919.
19.
Yes,
Oh, 19.
the old 19.
Oh,
Old
19.
19.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is-
that one. Yeah, I
yeah.
remember that one.
Do you remember that
yeah,
one?
Sure.
They were like playing cards,
Cards,
and
yeah.
after 2 a.m., a couple new people joined the game, and then all of a sudden they just
all hell broke loose.
Yep, all hell broke loose, and there are a bunch of names in here, and I don't want to butcher any of them,
Yeah,
but
don't.
I'm not going to. I'm not.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm biting my tongue from saying anything mildly racist. So
Right.
Oh, thank you for doing that.
I learn.
You know, you're also super woke.
I am very woke.
And if people don't know that about you,
Yeah,
they
they
should.
should know.
You are very woke.
I pay
and
attention.
you're a comedian.
Yes.
So that's a tough.
It's hard. It's
that's tough.
really hard.
Yeah.
I
try
can't
to
keep up,
navigate
to be
it.
honest.
No,
I
I
try.
can't. I can't keep
So
up
that's
at
why
all.
I just don't say anything because I can't keep up.
I just routinely apologize for everything I
Right.
say afterwards. I go,
sorry.
I'm sorry about
sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Sorry
I'm
about
sorry.
that.
Whatever I said, I'm sorry.
I used to feel embarrassed because I would ask a ton of questions. Like if I got something wrong, you know, you can see it on someone's face if you said the wrong thing.
Yes.
Right? And I would be like, what did I say? And if people go, it's okay, don't worry about it. I'm always
go,
like,
no,
no,
no.
you need to tell me.
'Cause I'll do it again.
Because I clearly am not,
Right.
I'm not in the know. I'm not educated, please. Then if I do it again, now I'm an asshole.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, my daughter has told me it's okay to ask. If you're
Yes.
unsure, you can ask. You know, with pronouns and
Yes,
whatever.
of
You know,
course.
so I try to. I try to keep up.
Yes.
I
I asked
just
someone,
say, "What you going by these days?"
hey, you.
You know, I had a thing. I was just telling somebody this the other day. I had Gus, my son again.
Yeah.
He wrote a play
Very funny
based on
comedian.
something I said, but not as a joke.
No.
It was just a one line. He said something to the effect of, you know, my friend so and so thinks you don't like him because he's gay. And I said, no, I don't like him and he's gay. Those are two separate things.
You yes-handed.
Yes.
I can't think of anything more woke than the improv community.
Yes.
And you just yes-anded.
Ended.
You were
Yes.
like,
Yes.
you have it
And
wrong.
You have it wrong. Yes.
I don't like him. And,
And
those two things
the-
can coexist.
Coexist. Yes.
That's correct.
Right. And one has.
That's the title of the
Yeah. That's our adorable
hilarious.
producer,
And-
by the way.
Yeah, and you know, and I stood by not liking the kid,
Yeah.
you know,
Has
but it had
nothing to do
nothing to
with
do
that.
with his.
Do you want to tell us why?
Yeah, he was just a Weasley little kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
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 And I don't think he had my son's best interests in his mind, just in general. And
Yeah.
you know,
You don't care.
I don't
You
care what
you
I
have a saying.
I have a saying.
We
If
would
you
love-
ain't
yep.
if you ain't fucking me, I don't care who you're fucking. It is none of my
That's
business.
right.
It's none
That
of my
should be on a
business.
bumper sticker.
Yeah, you really should.
Why don't you have merch?
Well, you do with your T-shirts. You've made me.
We do have merch.
What's,
have
yeah.
merch now.
Yeah.
What's yours say?
Well, it's my life credo.
Yeah.
Work hard, lay down.
Right, work hard, and
mine
Carolyn,
is Scooch
Scooch.
Yeah.
and FTP, but FTP for Fat Tits Plumber,
Plummet. Yeah.
which I like those better. I think I might
don't know,
more.
the
I
Scooch
might
look
do
good.
more. The Scooch ones
Yeah.
came out.
Do you want to explain what Scooch is, Carolyn, in case people are listening and they
Well,
don't know?
Scooch is it's the punchline to one of my jokes, but it's what every doctor tells a woman to do when you're in their office. I'm going to need you to scooch.
scooch?
Can you scooch?
Can you scooch down?
Scooch?
Scooch, please.
Just scooch a little
Scooch.
bit.
And
Can
we're
you
gonna have you
scooch?
scooch just a little more.
So that's what I
Yeah.
made shirts, and they're
I
pretty
lo-
popular right now.
I love that bit in general, but I like the fact that Pam's in the room.
Pam.
too.
You guys know Pam? That's my favorite
Yeah.
part about that bit
Yes.
too.
You
Yeah,
know Pam?
Pam's there. Do you guys know Pam? And the
Nobody
fun-
knows Pam.
Yeah, nobody knows Pam. But
And that's
apparently
a
I
true
can't be with
story
my doctor.
Right.
because the policy at Mass General Hospital, I'm not telling any
Right.
stories
No,
out
it's
of
fine.
out of Anyway, it's not a secret. But if you have a male doctor, you can't be alone with them.
Yeah.
So it's a policy that they have. And I asked the receptionist, I said, was there an incident? And they laughed for 10 minutes because of the doctor that I had. They're
we
like,
both had the same doctor.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
no way there was an incident.
There was
yeah.
no incident.
And they were
No.
like, no.
No.
I was like, it's a valid question.
Yeah.
And then the other one
Yeah.
that kind of stood out to me was the Charlestown shootings at the 99
Oh,
restaurant.
I was definitely around for that.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
right
yeah.
around the corner from your
That's
house.
right down the street from my house.
Yeah.
It was before that. It was the front page, and then it became a 99.
And is
Okay.
it still a 99?
It's still a
Yeah.
99. The
You always
bull-
come back for more, Carolyn.
Yes.
Well, because I like the 99.
Yeah.
And I'm mad they got rid of the relish. But
Well,
they used to have this
Yeah.
relish that
Yeah.
was like piccalilli relish, which is old school.
yeah,
red.
New
yeah.
England.
Oh, it's
And
red
they-
pepper in it.
Yeah,
yeah.
and they got rid of it.
Oh,
But I probably shouldn't eat it now.
I'm
It's
not.
got a lot
I'm
of
never
sugar
going
in it.
back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I was living there at the time, and that was I think an insult over a turf war.
Yeah.
And the people involved were from the North End. They weren't even from Charlestown.
Yeah.
It was,
I mean, what are you
some
doing
beef.
over here?
Yeah, you cross
Yeah.
the bridge. The steak tips that good. What? I
Right.
don't know, but
The gold fever wings are.
yeah, they're no, the
They
99's
really
got
are.
some good food.
They
Did
really
you know
are.
you can still get the cheese and crackers? You
No,
just have to
you
ask
ask
for
for
them.
it.
And when
Wow.
you ask, they're kind of like, there's this if you know moment with you and your server.
Right.
Can we get the cheese and crackers? Oh, yes, of
yeah,
course,
of
right
course.
away. Let me go to the
Yeah.
private stash of it's basically port cheese or whatever that is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and fake wheat thins.
Yes,
Fake wheat thins?
Yeah, they're
like
not
the generic
They're not
thins.
legit wheat thins. They're
wheat
generic.
thins.
wheat thins.
Wheat
Wheat
thins.
thins because they're smaller. in there.
Can you scooch?
Oh, I see.
They're not as they're pretty brittle.
Right.
Um,
But yeah, I mean that seemed
Yeah.
to erupt over something, a slight and somebody
Yeah.
not respecting somebody else, which is the way these beefs.
it was 95,
Fi-
right?
I believe it was 95.
Oh, I thought
yeah.
it was earlier than that.
No.
And let me say this: it was pretty well documented. Everyone knew who the people were
Right,
involved.
But no
in-
one said anything.
But no, they got caught eventually.
Right.
Because it was so overt. And the only thing that happened as a result of this, they took out that booth at the 99.
And that's it.
Like, that's it.
Yeah.
Maybe
just-
put up some paint.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm sure they cleaned up, but that section you can't sit in anymore because
okay.
there's like a alcove now.
Oh,
like a
that's
wall.
nice.
Yeah.
They store baby strollers
Yeah, because
and shit in there.
because yes, the high chairs
Yeah,
or whatever.
the high chairs. Yeah.
Because it's Boston and people would be coming and taking pictures.
They
of the
really
place.
would.
Yeah.
Hey, lay on the table.
Yeah.
Hold your head.
Wait, you slump over, face forward.
Right. I'm
and then
gonna
you
go.
You
right,
go backwards.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. they're-
So that was the one thing that that they did down there.
The interviews with people, and I say this respectfully to Boston, which I am not a from here person. Carolyn and I are not from. We're not originally from Boston.
But you've been here a long
I
time.
mean, over 20 years.
And you're from New England. It's,
That is correct.
Same.
Yeah. It says it happened in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Right.
Broad
so
daylight.
Like 1:25 in the
Yeah.
afternoon. This is what a witness said. The man who had been watching television at the bar said, "I heard what sounded like a balloon popping. I looked over to see if there was a party or something like that, and I heard another balloon popping, and then I saw some smoke, and I realized that's not a balloon." And then 2 or 3 shots later, I hit the deck, hoping it would stop. And when it didn't, I just dove out the back door,
Nonchalant.
went to Dunks. It's
Waited 10 minutes, came
Yeah.
back, and finished my shot and a beer.
exactly. I took my cheese, I put it in my pocket. It was
And hightailed it out of there.
it was 13 shots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a lot of shooting
Yeah.
going on. Yeah.
Shooting, rootin' tootin'.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the two big
those,
ones.
Yeah, those are
right?
the big ones, I think. And there've been others that a little bit quieter. During the 60s, there was a big, Irish and war between the mob and stuff like that, between, Somerville and Winter Hill and the South Boston and, and Whitey Bulger was in the middle of all of that. It turns out that these beefs, and one supposedly started because at a party, and this is about as Boston as it can get. At a party in Salisbury, somebody disrespected somebody's wife. Might have grabbed her hiney or what have you, and that's what erupted. But it was all brewing.
Yeah.
And
I mean, lots of crime here. Like the
good for crime.
Oh, so much crime. The I always say her name wrong. Isabella Gardner.
Stuart Gardner, the heist.
Yeah.
Which they've never
solved it.
Never solved it. And I really love going there because it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And then there's just empty frames.
Yeah, they're not going to do anything with it.
They didn't do anything.
Yeah.
They're
and
like, this is what used to be.
Yeah.
Right.
And here's the thing. There's a good possibility I know some of the people involved in that.
There really
Right.
is. I didn't want to put you on the spot.
No. I mean, it's all sort of covert and talked about behind. I don't have any information.
No.
But the speculation is it was, this faction and that faction, they would have the wherewithal to do that and blah, blah, blah. And you go, oh, I know those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they
It
kind
was-
of have an idea who they think did it. They just don't have any proof.
Yeah, for a while there was a rock and roll guy. I can't remember his name now. I used to see him up in ski country. Now I can remember his horn player, Scott the Cat Anderson. I'll think of it. But anyway, but then I think he was in jail at the time, so they ruled him out, but it might have been somebody
Wait,
he
the
knew.
art thief guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He dabbled
Yeah.
in art thief.
Yeah.
He was dabbling in
Well,
art.
and interviews with him are so interesting too because he was in jail when it happened, and he's like, I mean, I was in jail. How could I have done it?
Right, but
and he's so cheeky
and he's
about
got-
it.
right, he got a little
he's
smirk
like,
on his face.
How could it be me? I was in jail. You had me in jail.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you said it at the beginning of this, where it's like most people are like, yeah, I don't really know anything.
Anything. Right.
I mean,
They
I know
everything.
I know everything.
Right, but I don't know
I also
anything.
know nothing.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
mean, but that's New England. That's, that's Boston in general. We're
Yeah,
all very
mind your business.
stoic about it.
Yeah,
I didn't see nothing.
I don't know that.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, and that goes back to we talked about the code of silence and in Charlestown, and that was a very real thing, and I have personal encounters with that, so it's weird, but then we're all getting old, and it doesn't matter that much.
Yeah,
It sorta
I
gets
feel like
forget-
that's when things get solved. When people get old and they're like,
Oh, by
what?
the way,
Yeah.
I'm DB Cooper. Like, I'm gonna kick the bucket.
Yeah.
I might as
You
well
should know
confess.
this, right.
You should know that.
You want to see
Like-
something fun?
right.
I got away with
Look
it.
at this. I'm in my bed.
Yeah,
it's every painting.
There's like a half a dozen of my friends. If they came out with any ridiculous, deathbed statement, I'd go, "Oh yeah, of course."
Yeah.
But I think it really is very Boston to do that.
Yeah. I think so too.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right though. It's New England in general, right? It's like I didn't see it.
I think we learned that
Yeah.
in elementary school, though. You know what I mean? Like when somebody does something in class and they're going to get in trouble, and the teacher's like, "Who did that?" And you're like, "I don't. I didn't see
I
it.
didn't
don't
see
know.
nothing.
I
Right.
didn't see
Yeah,
it."
I
It's
wasn't
like a
involved.
learned behavior.
We don't want to get involved.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
And it's not because we don't want to help. It's just an inconvenience. It's like,
Exactly.
if I start talking, then I'm going to have to,
Yeah.
it's going to take half of my afternoon. And
Yeah, like I was supposed to have jury duty.
Right.
I was just
And I had to
thinking that.
call the night before, and I call, and it's for the previous week, so they haven't updated the jury line yet.
right.
So,
Something you might want
Right.
to
so I'm
consider.
like,
yeah.
that's for April 5th. I'm supposed to be there on the 12th, but that's not helpful. So I go online to see if I have to report, and they're like, you do not have to report. Like, you've been hounding me for months.
Right.
Right.
And now you're like, yeah, we don't need it.
We don't need you. Yeah.
But
and
we
you,
can
and you weren't
call
going to
you.
tell us?
But we can call
Right.
you in the next 3 years. I go, this was a pain in the ass this
This
time.
Come
is
on,
that.
will you just
Right.
go out with me? Just go out. All right, fine. I'll have dinner with you. No, never mind. I don't need
I'm
to.
busy that night.
I already ate.
Exactly what you feel like.
Yeah.
It's my civic duty.
Yeah.
I will say the only time that there's a story, and I only bring it up because we just celebrated the 10-year anniversary, is the marathon bombings. People were like, "I'll help."
Yeah,
Everybody
yeah,
wanted to
well.
help, and I
Well,
think
they didn't want to help when they wanted to film the movie there with Marky Mark. People they wanted to film it on the street where the actual shootout happened, and people were like, no.
No.
yeah.
Bullets went through shot my computer. Like we're all set. So they filmed in Weymouth
Yeah.
Yeah.
because the people were like, nope.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I actually just watched it, Kelly,
I'm
and
not-
we lived there.
Yeah.
when it
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah, in the same
And they
building.
have footage of the shootout that we heard but didn't see.
That's
And it
right.
answers
Yeah.
a lot of questions that we had that night about what we heard.
Well,
About the documentary series, I watched it last night.
Yeah. The second one where they're showing, like, we could hear all of that from our apartment building because they were like a block away, but we couldn't see it.
yeah.
And you heard explosions. Well, he was throwing pipe bombs.
Pipe
Right.
bombs, yeah.
But
that never
we-
got out.
That
No.
never got out.
No,
and
it-
then the pressure cooker bomb, he threw it at the police, and they were all surrounded around them.
Right.
And it hit sideways, and the top blew off and went into someone's car. The car didn't explode.
Right.
The bomb didn't
Right.
go
They
off
said
properly.
they took the press. It took the pressure off it,
yeah.
which made that would have made that more
Because
shrapnel.
usually when you
Yeah.
place them, it blows out,
Out.
and this
Right.
blew one direction,
Right.
which missed them.
The weirdest part
They
about
weren't
all
good at
that,
it.
because you just said it, Tone, you said, and that didn't get out.
Yeah.
We would tell people, no, they were.
There were
They were
explosions.
running. There were explosions, and they were running by. We lived right facing same building,
Yeah.
facing Mount Auburn Street in Watertown, and we heard them running around, saying, "Be on the lookout because there might be more bombs." Like
Yeah.
we heard them.
He might
saying
have a
that.
suicide vest.
Yeah, like-
we're going, what?
And then we talked about it, and people are like, "Oh, I don't think so. Maybe you were like a little hysterical."
No.
I'm like, "Was I? Was I hysterical?"
Well, after
Belly
I shit
Really?
my,
crawling?
after I shit my pants.
yeah, I wasn't hysterical,
It was
braless,
scary.
hiding under my couch.
It's very frightening.
Yeah.
The thing that was frightening about it was, and what's the police commissioner? He was the police Ed. What's
Ed
his-
Davis.
Yeah,
So Ed Davis was at the Matt Light Foundation show, and Kelly and I were both
we
like,
fangirled over.
we were
him.
like, you made us feel comfortable during the. We live in Watertown, He
You
was
were
good.
our
Yeah, he's a good
lifeline.
guy.
Yeah.
But in the
Yeah, yeah.
documentary, he still believes that they had help. He doesn't believe that they were lone wolves because he said there's no way that they were sophisticated enough
To,
No.
to
to
come up
make
with
the
that.
detonators on those bombs.
Right.
And the FBI does not agree with him, or the FBI knows something that they're,
Yeah,
again, not.
they can't.
The
Can't
FBI in
release.
Boston covering something up? What's wrong with you two?
what a weird thing.
Come on. I will not have
And
the
I
FBI in
tend-
Sorry.
Boston be
I
smirched.
tend to agree with him, though, because they didn't seem smart enough.
Hey, Whitey, get out of town.
Yeah. Hey, Whitey. Hey,
Whitey.
After we have Sunday dinner, why don't you get on a?
They're
real-
coming for you, Whitey. Get
Let me
out
put
of
it to you this way:
California.
go faster than molasses, Whitey.
Hightail it out of here.
Well, I mean, we could do a whole thing on the marathon bombing because it's
Yeah.
just so bananas. And
The whole thing was bananas.
I haven't watched it yet. Maybe I'll watch it and then we
I
can
would
talk
watch
about
it
it on a
because
later episode.
It answers a lot of questions that we had from that night.
Yeah, very strange.
Oh, that's good. That's
that
very
whole
personal.
thing. That
Yeah.
is personal. Yeah, it's super
Yeah.
personal. What we do want to talk about,
Yes.
though,
Is the Boston
is Boston
Strangler.
Strangler.
Oh,
because
sure. Wasn't
I,
me.
It
Thank you
wasn't.
so much.
I
I
will
do.
play
Well,
that up
I don't think it was
right away.
Albert Del Salvo either.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know.
There, people will disagree with you there.
Well, we'll get
Go
it.
ahead.
Yeah,
All
Carolyn, go ahead and do your story.
You know, this is all, before you get
Yeah.
into it, let me just say this. This is a great night to have me here because my wife recently
Yes.
has been watching nothing but How to Kill Your Husband.
Yeah.
Oh,
ID
yeah.
channel.
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
2020
48
snaps.
hours.
Yeah.
And it really should be How to Kill Your Spouse.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's always the fucking spouse.
It is,
It's
yeah.
always. She'll show me the first 10 seconds and I'll go, oh, the wife did it.
Right. Or
No,
the
no,
husband.
no.
Yeah.
You said there was a stranger in the house. I go,
She
no,
lied.
no. It's the wife. This wouldn't be on if it wasn't the wife.
Here's some positives about what you just said.
Yeah.
That means that your lovely wife, and she is lovely.
Yes.
She's never gonna kill you because she can't. She
yeah.
wouldn't know how to cover it up.
No.
Well, she's learning.
She's
And
I
that's
don't
what I'm
think
saying.
so though.
point.
She's
I
not
think
figuring
little
it
by
out
little.
in 10 minutes.
She's picking up that information.
Oh, my boy Keith Morrison, he's showing all the cards at the top of Dateline.
Yeah.
And if you don't pick up on those clues,
Well,
That's on
the
you.
most recent one was there was an intruder trying to break into the house. I got my shotgun,
Yep.
and we went downstairs. I was wrestling the guy for the shotgun and went off and killed my wife.
I saw that one.
I go, wait a second.
Or-
I go, wait a second.
Horse shit.
He's got the shotgun, and the wife's going first. let me get this straight.
And
The
she was
guy-
shot in the back.
In the back. So
Yeah.
the guy with the gun,
While laying down in her
honey,
bed.
you go first.
You
Yeah.
be my shield.
I'll be behind you with the shotgun. And you don't think that's suspicious?
Were you wearing your wife like a turtle shell
Right.
backwards and coming in?
I go,
Yeah.
you know.
So she's into the true crime.
Yeah, she loves it.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
We should have her on.
Yeah.
She's hilarious.
Yeah, she's great.
My favorite part on Dateline is when they're interviewing the person and they're wearing like a nice blouse.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're zoomed in on them and they're talking to them. And then at the end of the episode, when you found out they're the ones that did it, they zoom out and they're wearing like a jumpsuit underneath.
Orange.
Yeah.
They're in-
Yeah.
Anyone in orange, completely suspect from the get-go.
And they're like
Yeah.
taking off the microphone.
Yeah.
Like, oh, she was in jail the whole time.
Dang it!
You knew.
Josh
You knew
Mankiewicz,
the whole time.
You got me again.
You knew she was guilty.
Yeah, I don't get those. I'm telling you, I look
You
at
don't
them.
like it?
I look at them for 20 seconds and I go,
And then you go,
I
yeah.
know what happened.
Solved it.
Right.
You don't
the
want the
wife,
time to
the wife
kill.
was having an affair.
Yeah.
And then she didn't have the nerve to kill him. They took out insurance. Then they got the lover to do it. And then she turns on the lover, and the lover goes, "Wow,
lover.
that's it. I didn't do it." Yeah.
The lover.
The lover.
I
That's a
think
great-
the lover did it.
That's a great term. He's my lover.
He's my lover.
Yes.
How old were you when the Boston Strangler thing was happening?
Well,
Do you mind sharing?
No, I mean, what year was it? 67?
62.
62. I was very young.
Yeah,
I
you were
was,
little,
I
right?
was like
For-
seven
it-
or seven.
Yeah.
or
It went
6
on
or
for
7.
a while, but that's
Yeah, but it went on for a while. But I was aware of it because it's all people talked about.
Right.
We lived in a 3-decker in Somerville, which is all of 3 miles from
Yeah.
Boston. But
Right.
and so my grandmother, my mother, and my aunts, we all lived within a block of each other or in the same house, and that's all they talked about, and would have to triple lock the check the doors,
Yeah.
and everything like that. And then my dad, I got a little bit of my personality from my dad, and he was like, they're not coming here. Don't be ridiculous.
Stop
Sue.
flattering yourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the women were between the ages of 19 and 85.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they might have been coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1984. Well, not
Yeah.
that discriminating.
Yeah, no,
yeah,
no.
not that
Pretty much
discriminating.
No, he doesn't really care.
Well,
age
know,
group.
Or
listen,
she, whoever it
that's-
was.
That's the thing that people confuse too with sex crimes. They go, she's not my type. It really has nothing to do with it.
No.
No,
No.
if you're a fucking lunatic, you're a lunatic.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You're not,
Yeah, they're not discerning.
they're not very discerning at all. They
if
get
they-
creepy urges that
Yeah.
need to be satisfied.
The only thing I will say is, and I learned this from Criminal Minds.
Yeah.
Criminal Intent, not so much Criminal Minds. If someone got scolded in the first grade and their teacher was a brunette,
Right.
that might be the only
That would
triggering
right.
factor.
Yeah,
So,
brunette.
brunette, cut me
Yeah.
off.
And
in my car.
as I say, I find those things completely disturbing. People who prey on people weaker than them. I hate a bully.
Yeah.
Me
You know what I
too.
mean? And that's
Same.
a bully. Like if you want to go up against me and we're the same size, well, that's for me to decide. But if you're using the fact that you can overpower somebody, you deserve to die.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no problem saying that.
I would imagine if you were 7 that this felt like a boogeyman situation.
Yeah, because it was uncertain.
Right.
It could be anyone.
And also on the news.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Because
all the
in
time.
It was in the
61,
paper
It was
every
in the
morning.
paper.
Yeah,
That's what the
and then
movie-
it would be the lead news
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
time,
And that's all, I mean, I know.
right. And we weren't sophisticated enough back then to realize that the news did that to
Right.
keep you watching the news.
Oh, sure.
They
Well,
wanted
and
you
serial
scared in
killer
the
wasn't a
house.
thing yet.
No.
It was before they had come up with the term.
Right.
And it was in its infancy. So people weren't like, the Ted Bundy thing hadn't happened yet. Like there were serial killers, but it wasn't like it had been mapped out yet.
Right. It wasn't. They weren't profiled.
Right.
It was just
Profiling wasn't a thing
A
yet.
thing at that
Plum,
time.
tell us a little bit about the Boston Strangler.
All right.
So
So it
people aren't
happened
familiar with
between
anything.
June 19th, 1962 and January 4th, 1964. So it was 2 years.
That's a
And-
good long time to be afraid.
Yeah.
I mean-
and 13 single women between the ages of 19 and 85 were murdered in the Boston area. Most were sexually assaulted and strangled in their apartments. Police believed that one man was the perpetrator with no sign of forced entry into their homes. The women were assumed to have let their assailant in either because they knew him or because they believed him to be an apartment maintenance man, delivery man, or other serviceman.
Yeah, I thought the gas company for a while, too.
Yeah.
That was a big one. with
Yeah.
Creeps.
The attacks continued despite extensive media publicity after the first few murders. Many residents purchased tear gas and new locks and deadbolts for their doors. Some women moved out of the area.
Wait, you could buy tear gas in 1961?
62.
Sure.
But
62.
yes.
Yeah.
Is that the same thing as mace?
No, it's more
I think it's more.
military.
It's
Yeah, it
more
seems more
military.
like military grade.
Yeah, but there were Army Navy stores. You could buy
that's
anything.
true.
You,
Yeah.
you could buy a tank if you want. I would have bought a tank.
You would have?
Yeah.
How would you have used that when a stranger
I'd
comes to the
just drive it
door?
around.
I just drive it around.
I'd park it out front.
I'd be in it.
Let this be a message.
Who goes there?
You just turn the thing.
Right. Of
Yeah.
course, you gotta have a
Yeah.
tank.
So there were all like 13 different people, and the only one
It was mostly Beacon. Was it Beacon Hill or was it all
it
over?
said it was several different towns.
Yeah.
There's 2 articles here. This one's more about the movie. And the only one that they can definitively tie to Albert DeSalvo through DNA is
Yeah.
the last one, Mary Sullivan. But he
Right.
took credit and
And
confessed to all of them.
Right.
And he also was in Bridgewater State Correctional Facility because he was fucking nuts, and because he did a lot of rapes but didn't necessarily do murders, and he was housed with a guy that they think
Well, good.
I don't know why
Well,
we're
I'm glad
laughing.
I'm glad you showed the softer side of him.
no, I'm like
Because I was trying
he
to
was
get.
he was
I
a
was trying-
horrible rapist.
I was
but,
starting to get the wrong impression.
Now listen, he wasn't a murderer, but he was just a raper.
but he said F. Lee Bailey became his attorney towards the end after
Yeah.
he confessed. And if people don't know F. Lee Bailey, I don't know how you could not know him, but he was on the team for OJ.
OJ, yeah. He loves the controversial.
He-
Whenever I
loved-
hear
he
F. Lee
did,
Bailey, I always think, "Won't you come home, F. Lee Bailey? Won't you come home?" Isn't
Well,
that
he
a
won't
song?
come home because he lost his license in Massachusetts.
Oh yeah.
Why? What did he do?
Yeah. What did he do?
Did it say what he did?
Yes, it does. He was Patty Hearst's attorney.
Yeah.
Oh,
He likes the spotlight. is what he
Yes.
likes.
apparently.
He was licensed in Florida and Massachusetts, where he was disbarred 2001, 2003 for misconduct while defending marijuana dealer Claude Louis Duboc.
Claude Lewis.
Duboc.
Yeah, I don't know anything
And he
about
said
that
following his disbarment, he moved to Maine, where he ran a consulting firm. He later sat for the bar exam in the state of Maine, though in 2013 he was denied a law license by the Maine Board of Bar Examiners. So he must have fucked up pretty
one.
royally.
He must, yeah.
Yeah.
But he was on the OJ team. He defended Patty Hearst. He defended that army doctor from Fatal,
What?
Oh, yeah, the one who
Sam Shepard, who said that
killed
the
his
hippies
wife.
came in
Yeah,
and killed his
killed
wife and
yeah,
kid.
Yeah, it was him.
Oh yeah, remember him? Yeah, the
Yeah,
spouse.
yeah, it was him.
It's a
Oh,
spouse.
So-
spouse.
It's a
Always
spouse.
So he was pretty famous, I guess you could
Right.
say, or infamous.
Infamous, yeah. He loved a case that was out there.
Yeah,
you know.
that he could be in the spotlight. He liked the spotlight. But DeSalvo wasn't initially suspected of being involved with the murders.
What's his deal? How old was he and stuff?
Well, he died, and
No,
He
but when this
died
was
in
happening.
prison.
after he confessed, he was killed in prison.
In prison, right.
But when it was happening, how old was he?
Like 20s, 30s.
I
Yeah,
think
so
in
he
his
was like a
30s.
young-
Yeah. And apparently a good-looking guy.
Yes.
Not that has
They
anything
always
to
well,
do
are.
Tony,
with it.
Tony Curtis played him in the original
Yes.
Boston
Oh,
Strangler
Tony
movie.
Curtis. What a delicious
He's-
man.
Yes.
And Bailey wrote a book about him, about DeSalvo. And he got a lot of the details right, but he got a lot of the details wrong. So they think that someone that he was housed with, this George Nasser, may have been the perpetrator and was giving him the details.
Oh.
And he wanted the notoriety because he had that kind of like psychological disorder where he would confess to stuff that he didn't do because he wanted. So he and F. Lee Bailey were like
Men for each
men
other.
for each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wanted the infamy.
Yeah.
But
the
he
fame.
would say, like, he described a blue chair in the woman's living room. She stated it was brown. Photographic evidence proved that DeSalvo was correct. So he had details, but they don't know if he had them from someone else that he was housed with, or if he
Or
was
that maybe he
actually-
got the information from
Yeah.
somebody else.
And there's a couple different, like in the movie's more focused on the two ladies that wrote about it.
This current movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With, what's her face?
Keira Knightley.
Yes, Keira Knightley and the other lady. And they,
That other actress.
well, Carrie Coon, I don't know who she is. She plays Jean Cole, and Keira Knightley plays Loretta McLaughlin, which is a total Boston name.
Wicked.
But they gave them a byline with their pictures on it. So their
that seems smart.
yeah. So their pictures would appear in the Boston. It was before it was the Boston Globe. It was called the Record American.
Yeah.
A predecessor. Of
They're
the Boston
pretty girls.
Herald.
Put their pictures in the
No,
papers.
yeah. It was the
But-
Record American was the Herald.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said that wrong.
Okay.
But they faced sexism and pressure to drop it, and the police didn't take them seriously. And they would show up at like the murder scenes and try to get information. And like, yeah, this isn't related. Like, get out
You
of-
Disney broads are
Yeah,
always seeing
exactly.
spooks around the corner.
Shouldn't you be
And
bacon?
an editor disputed the worth of a series on the 4 dead women, noting that they were nobodies. They were nobodies. Why should anyone
care?
care about 4 obscure women? Sisters and so this lady was like, no, this story should be told. You know, she was kind of an innovator in the press or whatever.
You know, if
I fell asleep during the movie, I'll be honest. But it was good. Like
She
at
gives
one
it 3 stars.
at one point they were harassed. Like this
Yeah.
one lady was like putting her kid to bed and she got like a weird note, and then someone would call and breathe into the phone.
Right.
And then there were
People don't do that as much anymore.
2
No, 'cause
others.
There's no landline.
No, and the number comes up on the phone.
Remember getting those calls?
Yeah.
It,
Yes.
Like your kitchen phone would ring and you'd be like, hello.
That's exactly what the scene is in the movie. And her husband goes, "Who is it?" She's like,
Pause on the last one.
"It's a heavy breather. That's who it is." But
sorry, dry
they
mouth.
said even with this,
Or the husband would get those calls. Like, honey,
Yeah,
it's for you.
It's for you.
but even though he confessed, there wasn't enough evidence to prosecute him for the Boston Strangler murder, so he was tried on charges related to the Green Man crimes. That's what they called him, and he was sentenced to life in prison for armed robbery and sexual assault.
Because he actually did do. There's
Yeah, he
physical
was
evidence. that
right.
There's
that he
one,
did those.
Yeah.
Mary Sullivan. They
Well,
have DNA
yeah.
that he was actually
And
the
they
killer.
all the women didn't die though.
No, there's one lady who lived,
Right.
and they all said it looked like him.
Yeah.
And there were 2 other suspects, but they gave a stupid pseudonym in the movie, and I couldn't find the real names. But there were 2 other suspects. There was a guy from Maine that would come to Boston and New York, and he had killed someone in New York, and they thought he might be a viable suspect. And then there was a kid at Harvard who was like, they said he was perverse, but it was 1962, so I don't know how perverse he was.
Right.
But he used to beat up his ex-girlfriend, and they thought he might be the strangler too. Because he was doing some not so good, you know what I
I
mean?
mean,
Right,
that
right.
seems perverse.
No, but he was
He
a
beat up his
suspect too, but
ex-girlfriend
they couldn't
with a
tie-
sack of yams while wearing
Now
a
that's
chicken
weird.
suit.
Now that's weird.
And
I
then
was
he-
with you up until the chicken soup.
That is perverse.
Yeah, so he wasn't even tied to the murder of Mary Sullivan until 2013.
Right.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
that's when they thought they found a break in the case, but they can't tie him to all the other murders. And there's 2 schools of thought, that it wasn't just one person.
Right.
But they were like
Copycats,
because it was
sure.
in the news so much. And they also think that DeSalvo, because of his psychological profile, was confessing for the, glory of being this
He was
person.
already fucked. He was already
Yeah.
in jail.
Yeah.
So why not
Why
be
not
a
just
hero?
say?
Right.
Yeah.
And he was stabbed to death by another inmate. And this other guy was
Oh, a happy ending.
You raper, murderer.
Well, but I mean, 13 women in 2 years?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
That's a lot.
He's busy.
Yeah.
And I feel like now that, like, our generation and, like, what we grew up with, we hear these horrific things, but it's almost daily now.
We're
And-
definitely
yeah.
desensitized
And
to
I
it.
don't know if it's because there's more murders or we're just getting the information faster than back in the day.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Because there were always
combination of
serial
both.
killers. There were always
Yeah.
diddlers. There were always...
Oh, sure.
all
I
that
got to
stuff.
imagine, like in the, in the West, the old West, when things were getting settled,
yeah.
and there wasn't mass communication. I'm guessing there was a lot of raping and murder.
Oh, there was.
That went unsolved.
Raping, murdering,
Have
and
you ever
pillaging.
seen?
Pillaging.
There's we should talk about this on an episode. There's a haunted saloon out there, where it's haunted by these prostitutes that were like beat up constantly and murdered, and now they're haunting this place to get their story out. They're like, it was like the real old West. Like,
Yeah.
it was debauchery and just They did
Yeah,
whatever
and
they
no one
wanted
was
to
held
do.
accountable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
there
couldn't
was no
find
law.
anybody. If you went over a county line, they'd let you go because it wasn't their jurisdiction.
Right.
They were just figuring stuff out.
I wonder too if the more scientific advances we make, right? So like they just had that, what was he, a cardinal or a bishop or something? He just got arrested for raping a man back in.
Is that the Baltimore thing?
Yeah, and I'm like,
Oh, because they have DNA.
because they have DNA now.
Yeah.
And
so
there's
it's
no
like,
statute of
yeah,
limitations.
Not on that.
Yeah, none.
No.
I mean,
There shouldn't be.
no.
No.
No, we said.
Yes, we're on that side.
We
We're on the side
And
of
if you're
no.
not,
Yeah.
what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
get
Please-
it together.
Please stop listening.
Gosh.
We're not trying to help.
Tony, we
Yes.
always ask our guests.
Yes.
Always. We ask them, what is something that terrified you? A movie, a book, anything terrified you as
I don't.
like always.
I don't like gory things.
You don't like
I
gory
don't,
things?
Like the Halloween movies.
Yeah.
My wife's always trying to get me to watch those too, and I won't. And when I was a kid, The Wizard of Oz creeped me out to
yeah.
no end.
What was
Why
the part?
why they let kids watch that movie is beyond
It's
me to this
terrifying.
day. It's a terrifying movie.
The flying
wi-
monkeys
The flying
alone.
Yeah.
monkeys alone, and that the witch was
terrifying.
terrifying.
Even on the
Witch-
bike, she was terrified.
Yeah.
Yeah, when she was just
She was an asshole.
Yeah, when she
Yeah.
was Lydia Gulch or whoever.
I
she
didn't
was.
like the whole idea of the trees.
Oh, the trees were mean.
The talking
Yeah,
trees,
the talking
sure.
trees I didn't like. Yeah, all of that was scary. I'm with you 100%.
Yeah,
Willy
well,
Wonka scared
or-
me, to be
The
honest.
tunnel scene in Willy Wonka
Yeah.
scared the shit because it's like a bad acid trip.
Oh yeah.
No one
Yeah.
knows where we're going.
Yeah, well
I'm
that's yeah. But that
Then
didn't
they
scare me
cut
as
the
much as the
chicken.
other.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but I never like gory things or
Like the Saw movies.
Yeah, those,
I don't.
I'm not-
Yeah.
I don't.
I
You
don't
know,
like
I'm
that.
scared enough in life.
Yes.
I don't need to go sit in a dark room and get scared more.
Right.
I'd rather watch a story where they leave it out. Like,
Suspense.
yeah, like, or they tell you, like, in A Time to Kill, where the little girl gets sexually assaulted, they show you enough that you know what's
what
happening.
happened, but they don't go into.
And
the,
it's there for a reason because later on in the
Yeah.
trial he brings that up.
Right.
But it shows you enough that you know it was horrific, but you don't see it.
yeah,
I like that better.
Yeah.
Not unlike The Accused, where you see everything.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. I don't need to.
I
Yeah.
don't need to see that.
Yeah, stop. What about a nice musical?
Oh. Yes, please.
Seven Brides for Seven Brothers.
Yes,
Yeah.
please give me a musical.
Oklahoma, sure.
Oh my God, the Music
The
Man.
sound of music.
Please.
I was in the
That's
music
that's
now.
entertainment.
Oh. Anything that we haven't talked about that you'd like to discuss?
No, I think we got all the mayhem and gore out of the way, but you
And
know,
they still don't have definitively that the Boston Strangler was one person. It's unsolved.
it's
They
all
solved that one case.
Yeah.
right?
But they can't tie everything to
They-
Albert
d-
DeSalvo.
right.
I listened to another podcast called No, it's not by Payne Lindsay from Tenderfoot TV.
Kelly likes
I'm
to promote
obsessed.
this other podcast.
I just really like this guy. That's all. I
Who
like
is it?
Payne Lindsay, Tenderfoot TV.
Yeah.
I mentioned him every episode.
several times.
That's not what I was going to bring up, though, Carolyn.
Oh, sorry.
It is
Oh, you too.
Dark Down East.
Oh.
And it's this journalist out of Maine, and she did a whole thing about the Cambridge area where there were some unsolved murders, and they could be tied to the Boston Strangler case. So that's
That might
interesting.
be the Harvard guy that they made into like one character with a fake name in the movie.
the movie you fell asleep in.
Yeah, but I saw the end of it. I saw most of it. I was only asleep for like
That
10
chair
minutes.
is really comfortable in your living room. It's really comfortable.
Sure.
Tony, thank you for joining us
Oh,
today.
this was a hoot. You
on
guys
the
are
Fraidy Cat.
You guys are the best.
Well, will you come back on?
Of course I will.
Okay, good. That's all that we really want. Please tune in next time to the Fraidy Cat podcast. I'm Kelly McFarland.
I'm Carolyn Plummer.
And we'll see you next time.